Welcome to the Webster Insider. I'm Caleb Sprouse.
And I'm Alex Darmody. We are coming to you from Media Commons in Sweardrup Hall, home of Webster University's School of Communications.
First, we begin with a story on voter participation, or the lack thereof, especially when it comes to younger voters. The midterms are a few months away, but already pundits are claiming that this year, could be extremely pivotal for the nation's path forward. Our Alex Darmody explains that while midterms and general elections get all the attention, in many cases, local elections have a bigger impact on our everyday lives.
On April 5th, Webster Groves voted on a variety of issues: a new mayor, new school board members, and new propositions. Despite being in Webster Groves, Webster University students don't typically vote in these elections.
In the past, it seems like when there is something that directly affects Webster University, a lot of students come out and support, but it's for these borderline things that do affect students but don't expressly spell out the university or talk about the university that tend not to get as much attention from students.
We're part of a community, we're part of Webster Groves, and so although thinking about who the alderman is or the mayor of Webster Grove might not seem like it affects you that much, but the decisions, they make a lot of decisions that affect what the university is able to do.
But the local election isn't the only one planned for 2022. In November, Americans will be voting in the midterms. 34 Senate seats and all 435 House seats are up for election. Unfortunately, many students shy away from being involved.
I'm not registered to vote because at the last presidential election, the 2020 election, my birthday was only a few weeks after the election, so I wasn't able to vote then.
At the moment, it's just me. I don't have a student working with me, so with Webster Votes, we try to pick that up and get more student volunteers when it's the really heavy election season.
But despite this, students still vote more in national elections, both the general and midterms, on average.
With the last midterms in 2018, Webster students voted at about a 65% voter rate, which for a midterm election was about 30% higher than the national average.
While midterm elections can change the makeup of Congress, local elections can directly affect the community you call home during the school year.
Yes, well, the students are important residents of Webster Groves. They may not live here year round, but when they come in, it changes the whole makeup of the city. It makes our restaurants a little busier. It makes our retail stores a little bit more popular. So this is the city that the university is in, and the students are our residents, and they have a voice, and that voice deserves to be heard.
Right around this time in 2020, the country found itself crippled by the COVID-19 pandemic, and it's taken more than 2 years for many Americans to begin to feel somewhat safe again.
But as reporter Jordan Parker tells us, that feeling of safety and security does not extend to all Americans.
Alex, this month marks Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, a time to celebrate and honor the many contributions from that segment of our population. Yes, many of us are seeing the tail end of these troubling times as we slowly but surely begin to gain a sense of pre-pandemic normalcy.
However, for many in our community and across the country, there remains a grim, sometimes dangerous concern. Since the coronavirus began to take its hold, the Asian American and Pacific Islander community, AAPI for short, has experienced a barrage of xenophobic attacks, verbally, physically, and a number of them deadly. St. Louis social justice advocate Caroline Fan is the founder of Missouri Asian American Youth Foundation. She has worked to aid the AAPI community here and across the country in any and every way she can.
At the beginning of COVID, I knew that it was going to unleash a ton of Asian American hate. I did. I had to be a media correction machine.
Many believe the rash of attacks against AAPI individuals at the start of the pandemic has roots in anti-immigrant sentiment voiced by Donald Trump throughout his presidency. At the onset of COVID, Trump and his supporters seemed to perpetuate the idea that the virus was an issue of race.
I think all of these goes back to the President Donald Trump that actually specifically in media and in the news called this a Chinese virus, which encouraged a lot of people to actually started this hatred act and violence toward Asian people.
Others in the AAPI community have taken it upon themselves to create organizations and even begin movements to come together, share their experiences, and fund awareness efforts to put an end to the hate. Our own Webster University community has also shown support for the AAPI community during these trying times.
I love how our school stand and support Webster students.
So I'm really happy the work that Webster University is doing to make sure that all of these things is not happening on campus and among students.
According to Stop AAPI Hate Organization, there have been 10,905 hate incidents like these against AAPI individuals. If you witness someone being targeted in a hate crime, don't do nothing. Intervene. Make your presence known, aid in the victim's assistance, and make sure that both of you remain safe above anything else.
It's all seen from how you treat others. Like if you're Asian, like call people out for making stereotypical and derogatory joke. I would say it's like this type of humor is like hurtful and damage the Asian American community.
One of the best ways that we can tackle all of these stigma and all of these racism on campus or anywhere is to surround yourself and make friends those people that are different than you.
Religion is not for everyone, but for those whose faith plays an important role in their lives, finding a church community that gives them a sense of belonging can be a challenge. And if you're young, queer, and hungry for guidance, the search can be even more daunting.
Webster Insider's Nay Lowry has the story of a church community in North St. Louis whose pastor fosters an all-inclusive community and welcomes those who are searching or feel lost altogether.
Despite only being a senior pastor at St. John's for 3 years, Michelle Higgins has long been grounded in faith, having grown up as a pastor's daughter. She took on the role of a pastor at St. John's in 2019, the first woman to be named lead pastor in the congregation's 160th year history. Higgins' approach to faith is an all-inclusive and accepting for everyone.
If I don't have anything to say to everybody, and if I don't have anything to say to them through the text and the principles that I call sacred, I have nothing to say at all.
Many churches within Christianity still believe that only men should be ordained to serve as leaders of the church. Statistics show that in the United States, approximately 87% of pastors are men, while only 13% are women. As a 5'2" queer Black woman, Higgins pushes the envelope of what a pastor in today's society can look like.
Surprising for people to hear that a woman is a pastor, to hear that a woman can be a pastor, and to discover even more. I think the biggest shock for folks is when they come, they visit, and they see, my 5'2" frame just holding forth and speaking, with power, delivering the word with power. And so they're surprised that I'm confident. They're surprised enough of my gender identity. And I think that they sometimes experience, hopefully, surprising themselves. That something we're doing here is effective.
Her message basically is opening the door to the community, to all of the community, not limiting who can come through the door, and listening to their needs and trying her best to minister to that and being a voice for those that can no longer speak or that don't have the voice themselves.
That's where my heart is. I want people to come in here and go, "Oh, this feels so different," in a good way.
Yes.
And then I tell them, this is reality. Your strife, your struggle.
Absolutely.
It's gonna, we don't want you to leave it and pretend it's not there. When you come here, you will never have to struggle to be respected or completely loved.
St. John's United Church of Christ is located in the 4100 block of North Grand Boulevard in North City. It is proud of being a Black-led yet racially diverse congregation that is accepting of everyone and believes in justice for all. Caleb, back to you.
Thank you, Nay. There is currently an exhibit at the International Photography Hall of Fame and Museum in St. Louis that shines the spotlight on a continuing, troubling nationwide trend: military veterans who end up homeless. More than 10% of the U.S. homeless population are military veterans, despite making up only 7% of the population. In an effort to put a face to these statistics, a former U.S. Army drill sergeant and renowned photographer, Jerry Tovo, is using his images to tell a story.
The problem of homeless veterans is on the rise, and it's a problem that needs to be addressed socially. And as a veteran himself, I think he was motivated to show and demonstrate through his work how some of the veterans are being handled as far as homelessness is concerned.
Do you feel like talking to people about homelessness, particularly veteran homelessness, that they're kind of surprised that there's a large number of vets that are in fact
No, I
homeless?
don't think anybody's surprised. I think it's pretty common knowledge. What surprises me is that, 12 years later, that I don't see a big difference, in terms of actual people on the street than I did back then. But for the most part, no, I don't think anybody's surprised. If they're surprised, they're not paying attention.
Tovo has been locating and photographing homeless veterans around the U.S. for more than a decade, but due to his age, his involvement with the Homeless Veteran Series is coming to a close. Tovo hopes another photographer will take up the torch and continue to shed light on the challenges our heroes face.
What I hope is someone will pick this up and run with it. I'm 77 years old. I'm done.
You could tell that he got to their soul. He got through their eyes and into their heart and soul and really captured the feeling of these folks, the veterans.
In the Faces of Patriotism, the Homeless Veterans Project exhibition can be viewed at the International Photography Hall of Fame and Museum in Grand Center through June 11. For the Webster Insider, I'm Caleb Sprouse. In the Faces of Patriotism, the Homeless Veterans Project exhibit can be viewed at the International Photography Hall of Fame and Museum in Grand Center in Midtown through June 11. And if you are interested in assisting homeless vets, the National Coalition for Homeless Veterans oversees aid to hundreds of thousands of former service members every year. The organization's website is nchv.org.
Elsewhere in St. Louis, downtown to be exact, it's officially walking tour season. Reporter Claudio Cobos is here to tell us more. Claudio?
The Landmarks Association of St. Louis is a nonprofit organization that has been around for decades. The association has played a critical role in helping to preserve the city's history.
St. Louis is a city filled with rich history, and you can tell by just walking around the buildings downtown. Each one has its own history, from governmental buildings to commercial properties. A few have changed historical landmark status, and some are still open to the public. It's all thanks to the Landmarks Association of St. Louis, a nonprofit organization that has worked and advocated for conserving historic buildings since 1959.
The idea behind it is to preserve the built environment and to educate people about it and about how important buildings are to a community, to the vibrancy of a community, to how it grows and how it operates. And the idea is to teach people about the history of St. Louis, but we use the buildings as a stepping off point to talk about why a certain building was built, when it was built, what it meant to the community, what its function was, and why it's important that we preserve buildings like this.
The Landmarks Association is responsible for identifying and registering around 11 to 14,000 districts and buildings in St. Louis and the National Register of Historic Places. One of the high-profile rescues is the building on 4th Street. The building was before a Ford trading auction floor that dominated the coats and hats industry in the 1920s. Now it is a Drury Plaza hotel.
St. Louis was in the process of embarking on a lot of urban renewal projects that ended up destroying enormous swaths of our city, demolishing entire neighborhoods. Our organization was founded by people who were concerned about the lack of planning that was going on.
With COVID restrictions loosening up, the Landmarks Association tours are back again this season. You can reserve your ticket for a tour every Saturday from April to October. Each ticket costs $10 per person, and children under 12 are free. For West Insider, I'm Claudio Cobos.
Back on campus, we now turn to a segment on the Department of Dance here at Webster, where it's evident being a dance major is unlike any other college major.
As Kelly Bowen reports, Webster's dance program is rigorous and intensive, and designed for students who aspire to be top professional dancers, choreographers, educators, and scholars.
For the 26 students currently in the program, their classwork may consist of dancing multiple hours and several days a week, on top of rehearsal in the evenings or weekends.
We have a wonderful group of students that are deeply passionate about what they do, and I think that we have a great faculty that really tries to balance things for them. We are all working professionals, and so we know the realities of what they're working through and what the professional expectations are for them when they leave here, and so we're really trying to prepare them for that. while also learning how to like tend to their own individual needs.
With a long list of accomplishments and alumni dancing professionally across the globe, these students will be prepared to dance professionally in the real world. Zoe DeYoung is a current student of dance who says she has endured some challenges in her first year. She's experienced the intensity and the amount of physical work this program demands, something that's not always obvious to those not involved or unfamiliar with the program.
It's hard to not be considered an athlete as well as a student, because I believe that I am working just as hard, if not harder, than a student athlete who's in any mainstream sport, soccer, softball, any one of those. If they're in practice after school, I'm in rehearsal or class during school.
There are certainly physical challenges that will arise. There are overuse types of things and just incidental injuries that might occur for folks. With that level of intensity, that certainly can come along with it. So I think that the mental, emotional, as well as the physical, and really trying to sustain that.
However, DeYoung believes the prestige of Webster's dance department, along with the caliber of its faculty, make the sacrifices worthwhile.
Webster is a fabulous way to continue your dance education because it brings you to the next level. You're dancing every day. You're with some of the highest level professors, and you're getting trained by the best, really. And so in that regard, I would say it absolutely is worth it.
Being a student in Webster's dance program takes a lot of hard work and dedication and may not be for everyone. But as you can see, these dancers have high-level training and faculty to support them in their quest to become the next generation of professional dancers. For the Webster Insider, I'm Kelly Bowen. Back to you, Alex.
Thank you, Kelly. This spring, Webster University hosted its first ever pop-up career closet. It's an event that aims to give students a hand when it comes to looking their best during networking events, job interviews, and any other time professional business attire is needed. Webster Insider's Lonnie Walton has the story.
In the School of Communications at Webster University, you'll find Professor Joy Leopold's office. Behind her door, you'll find a stash of business shirts, pants, dress ties, shoes, and more that will eventually turn into a pop-up career closet. This event was put together by Webster staff and professors like Leopold to help students get free clothing for job interviews, internships, and other events where professional or business attire is required.
Found a few pair of pants, a dress, and a shirt. So I'll be using these to try to get a better job, an internship, and also I go to church.
In fact, some students used the clothes from the pop-up event just days later at a career event on campus. The career fair was a place where students get to meet, greet, and interview with many job prospects they hope to have in the future. And thanks to the pop-up closet, they get to do it in their brand new clothes.
So I really think that this is going to help the Webster community just by providing our students with some professional attire that they can use to interview once they get the job, that they can use on an everyday basis when they're in the office. Hopefully give them some good advice on what outfits look good in professional settings.
About the event, and today just really exceeded my expectations. I mean, 50, 60 students showing up to one of these events. It was kind of a pop-up, spur of the moment kind of thing. And it kind of blew me away. I was like, this is awesome. We're getting, professional attire out to these students. So it has exceeded my expectations greatly.
The Career Closet says they're hopeful the event could be held at least once every semester. That way, it can help students with their needs year-round. Alex, back to you.
Thank you, Lonnie. And finally, we are just days away from what's considered the biggest day of the year on campus, Graduation Day.
As Webster Insider's Courtney Schmedeke tells us, while graduating seniors will be front and center, faculty and staff are just as involved preparing for the big day. Courtney?
Caleb, as the 2022 spring semester comes to an end, excitement is building among students as well as their professors and staffers who've seen them through over the years.
Webster University has been sending new graduates out into the real world for more than 100 years, but this year will be a first. Not only will commencement ceremonies be held on the home campus at Webster Groves, but 3 different years of graduates will be celebrated.
It's always nice to get up that morning and get the cap and gown ready and just take a minute to breathe it all in because it's a big moment. When students graduate from Webster University and they make it through the commencement process, it is a real sense of pride and joy just to see these individuals come to the pinnacle of their college career, and to be able to celebrate them is bittersweet. It's so great to see the accomplishments, but also sad to see them go.
Easier to say goodbye to students. They're such a huge presence in your life for 2, 3, 4 years, and then they walk across the stage and your relationship with them is going to be different. It's also really exciting because you just never know what kind of amazing things they're going to accomplish.
Speaking of what's ahead for graduates after they get their diploma, Trezette Dixon, who oversees the internship program at the School of Communications, agrees, saying she loves to see students succeed and launch their career goals.
It's hard to see them go because it is such a big part of the transition between being a student and being a professional. But I do have to say that in my role, I love the fact that I can call upon them and bring them back to share their wisdom with their fellow Gorloks.
With graduation just around the corner, make sure you're prepared. Take a look at the Webster University's commencement website, webster.edu/commencement, to stay informed about everything you'll need to know for graduation day.
Make sure you know everything you need to know. You're going to have a great day. Just get here on time, get where you need to be, and we're going to celebrate with you. We're going to take care of you that day.
Support that you received here remains. That definitely does not stop the moment you walk across that stage.
Congratulations to Webster University students. The degree that you have is meaningful in the real world. Take it and use it wisely.
Congratulations, Gorloks. You made it. We wish you success and happiness as you tackle the next chapter of your lives. We look forward to seeing you all on May 13th and May 14th. For the Webster Insider, I'm Courtney Schmidtke.
We certainly share in the excitement surrounding commencement. Congratulations to our graduates.
And that concludes this edition of the Webster Insider. We wish you a safe summer. I'm Caleb Sprouse.
And I'm Alex Darmody. Thank you for watching. We'll see you back in the fall.